Drakeford. He says it was disappointing not to hear from Boris Johnson.
We have acted to prevent Welsh people from travelling to those areas. I live in Cardiff. I'm not allowed to travel to Tenby in southwest Wales because the virus there is still at a very low pitch. All we have asked is for people in other parts of the United Kingdom to be in the same position, that you can't travel from a high circulation area to a low circulation area because the risk is that you will take the virus with you.
Now, the UK government say they're disappointed that this has happened rather than letting UK nations collaborate, but it's very much rooted, according to the Welsh government, without anti-English sentiment.
Daniel Bevan reporting. We'll come back to our conversation concerning COVID across the whole of the country, but let's move into European footing. Get your Brexit bingo cards out. Here we are. You remember the days when that's something he used to talk about. It's another Brexit deadline day. Yes, tick that one off. But actually, today would appear to be the deadline day of all deadline days. Lucy Hobbs, LBC's correspondent in Brussels, explains why. Why so much focus on today's deadline, Lucy? Good morning.
Well, Nick, you might remember this was the date that was circled by Boris Johnson back in early September as the deadline from the UK side to reach an agreement on the post-Brexit trade deal, or we decide to revert to WTO terms. It's also the day that EU 27 leaders are meeting for a critical summit to take stock of where the negotiations stand at this stage and whether or not to go into the more intensive stage of the negotiations known as the tunnel. Now, it is clear, everyone would agree, that we are some way from a deal with a number of issues to iron out, but today's talks could determine how things play out in the coming days and weeks. Now, from the EU side, it says it wants a deal, but not at any price. And as former Brexit civil servant Philip Rycroft said, the bloc now has other priorities.
Brexit is now a bit of a distraction for the EU. They've got lots of other things that they want to focus on in terms of taking the EU forward. And that gives a bit of an impulse to them to say, all right, let's get this thing sorted out now. We've had enough of it. It's time to get this deal over the line.
Now, all EU 27 leaders will be arriving here in Brussels later. Brexit is top of the agenda. First of all, they'll be briefed by Michel Barnier, the EU's chief negotiator, on where things stand, particularly the key sticking points, fishing rights in particular, and rules on fair competition, the level playing field. We're told that fishing really is the one to watch, and particularly as coastal states like France and Italy become more hardline on this. So all eyes will be on French President Emmanuel Macron today on that. Now, from the EU side, Boris Johnson spoke to his counterparts at the EU Council and Commission yesterday, expressing his disappointment at slow progress. He says he'll wait to make a decision on whether to walk away as he sees how the next 2 days play out.
Lucy Hobbs reporting from Brussels. We'll have more on the UK aspect of that with political editor Theo Ashwood later in the show. Staying with European matters, though, it was once the City of Lights, but no longer for Paris. President Emmanuel Macron talks of Le Grand curfew.
The decision is that of a curfew that will be applied in the Ile-de-France, the Greater Paris area, where the virus is spreading very actively.
But it's not just Paris, there are other French cities as well. More details on that after the news. Also, Zoom. You probably hadn't even heard of it until 6 or so months ago. I thought it was an ice cream. Well, obviously I know what it is now, but once it was an ice cream. What are they doing now to increase their stranglehold, if you will, on the platform and video service? What are the new gadgets that Zoom are bringing in? You'll find out right after this. 7:31, you're listening to Breakfast with me, Nick Ferrari, here on LBC. It's the news time now. Holly Harris.
Talks continue this morning between the government and local leaders in the northwest about increasing coronavirus restrictions. At the moment, Liverpool's the only area in the top tier of very high alert. Greater Manchester Mayor Andy Burnham's meeting the Prime Minister's team later. London Mayor Sadiq Khan says he would support moving the capital into Tier 2 of the restrictions, but he wants more financial support if that happens. He's written to the Prime Minister to say the city also needs more testing. France is to introduce a nighttime curfew for 9 cities, including Paris, to try to curb the spread of infections there. The measures, which come into force on Saturday, will last for at least 4 weeks. The weather, most parts of the UK staying dry with sunny spells, scattered showers in the east and southeast, and still rather breezy, a high of 13 Celsius.
Deputy Mayor, LBC. Jake Berry, Conservative MP. When you talk about the clever people in Downing Street, who are they?
Well, I mean, certainly the Prime Minister is our leader in Downing Street.
They could be smart when it comes to COVID.
I think we've had good. There is no.
Do you think the Prime Minister's been smart on COVID?
Well, I think actually, well, yes. A straight answer
When was the last time somebody bought something from your website? In fact, if you didn't have to pay money to search engines, would you be able to sell anything at all? With Golgi, you don't even need a website to sell your stuff online. Just go to golgi.com, add your name and product list, and start selling. Simple, right? The best part, Golgi doesn't take upfront fees or commission. It's all about you and your customers. So why make selling online complicated? Let Golgi do the hard work for you. Want to sell? Golgi.
That's GOLLGI.com.
To the coughers and sneezers and open-mouth breathers who say no to a visor or hand sanitizer. To the mask naysayers and droplet exhalers whose dislike of a snood is borderline rude. If your spatial awareness is lacking in fairness, have a mask revelation and protect the nation. Prevent the spread of coronavirus with medical-grade protective equipment from trustedppe.co.uk. Order before 4 p.m. weekdays for same-day dispatch and avoid being a spreader of the COVID lung dweller.
Have a painting party, they said. It'll be fun, they said. Turns out, Prosecco and paintbrushes don't mix, and you can't always trust your friends to decorate your house. Thankfully, at trustedtrader.com, you can find plenty of vetted, reviewed, reliable professionals in an abundance of trades. Like a painting pro, minus the secco. After all, friends are for painting the town, not the walls.
Commuting into the office? Top up, tap in, go. Reconnecting with friends and family? Top up, tap in, go. Day tripping to the coast? Top up, tap in, go. With our improved Key Smart Card, loading, managing and using your tickets for travel has never been easier. To get yours, search Thameslink Key Smart Card. Thameslink, we're with you.
I've been in the home all day. I've been working from home and had to pop out to go and collect the children from school. And during that time, we'd been burgled, so in broad daylight. I think it really hits home when you come into your children's bedrooms and you see the children's bedrooms have been turned upside down. So the break-in was a real wake-up call in terms of having to do something about the security of the house. So we did a complete review. The first product I bought was the Ring floodlight cam, and that was purely because I had an existing floodlight on the front of the house. It was easy to install, and it's something I could do instantly. Because the Ring floodlight cam was at one side of the house, the Ring doorbell is at the other, and it gives us that total coverage across the front of the property. With the Ring system, I get a notification if someone is on the property. So as long as my phone stays quiet, I know there's no one on the property. And having that level of reassurance all the time is worth its weight in gold.
Join Matt and the millions of people protecting their homes with Ring. Learn more at ring.com.
Nick from Orient Breakfast on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
7:36, back to our conversation concerning those COVID figures as well, and the approach, of course, of those lockdowns. Let's dive into the world of business now from Aquis Exchange, joined by David Buick. And it's fair to say, until 6-7 months ago, I hadn't, and many of my listeners haven't heard of Zoom, and they seem to just get bigger and bigger. What have they now got planned?
Morning, Rich Unique. We'll start off with the share price. On the 31st of December 2019, 68 bucks. Today, $509. So,
why didn't you call me on
well,
New
why
Year's
didn't you
Eve?
call me? It's extraordinary, Nick, isn't it? Absolutely amazing. Anyway, video calling app Zoom has announced a system to let people pay for live online experiences. They're going to start
the events industry. They're trying to get
that very much so, yeah. And to discover the monetization features for online versions of traditionally in-person events. I mean, it's a cross between Twitch and YouTube, and they're going to be doing all kinds of yoga online, medical consultations, video calls, and various other things. And tickets can be sold for each event up for about 1,000 attendees. I think it's an interesting innovation, but this is a very, very loaded platform at the moment. So I suspect the fact that Zoom has already established itself in everybody's home, that this is a very easy latch on.
I've got to introduce the next conversation in this fashion. Did somebody say just eat?
What an extraordinary...
Oh my goodness, that campaign's amazing, isn't it?
If Just Eat was bought out or merged with Taken, a Dutch firm, valuing the company £6.3 billion. Today's value?
Sure.
14.1 billion.
Why didn't you, again, you didn't believe it?
I didn't believe it because I didn't know about the pandemic. NatWest, just to give you an idea, or Royal Bank of Scotland's 13 billion capitalised it. Aviva, the large insurance company, 11.
Yeah.
IAG right down at 4.9. Anyway, just to put a little bit more meat on the bone, they had a 46% rise in orders in the third quarter. This was helped by an association, fresh associations with McDonald's and Greggs, two of my favourite people. And it's done incredibly well, and it's going on from strength to strength. And it's delivering stuff, you know, all around the countryside. And as long as it stays on top of knowing how clean these restaurants are and how well they're run, it's a cracking business.
Also going on and on, but sending out a warning, ASOS.
Yeah, again, here we are. This is an incredible company in a very short period of time. Revenues grew in the last quarter by 19% to £3.2 billion the 31st of August. And the profits went up from 33 billion to 142 billion. Now, the chief executive, Nick Biden, says this is great, but he said, my problem is going forward. When we get to the fourth quarter, when we head to Christmas, and the dough queue is somewhere, say, between 2 and 3 million, this will affect our business. And not surprisingly, having had a fantastic run, and the shares again are up, I think, over 50% since the beginning of this year. They took a bit of a tumble yesterday, down 6% at one time. Totally understandable, you know. At least the guy's been completely honest and saying exactly, you know, where things are and how things actually stand.
David, we'll talk again in a little under an hour's time. Thanks, David Buick from Reckless Exchange.
This is LBC. Call 0345 6060 973. Tweet at LBC. Text 84850.
Coming up, a very business-related story. Thousands of you might have received letters from the tax authority questioning your claims for coronavirus support grants. 24,000 of them being sent to people who got these self-employed support grants from HMRC, Imagined Revenue Customs. What should you do? I'll tell you the other side of going through some of the texts, tweets and emails coming in on different interpretations of the figures that I'm trying to provide to you today. This comes from Keith in Wendover. I live in a small market town in Buckinghamshire, 18,000 population. We've had no known deaths to COVID. We've had 4 suicides in the last 3 months. That is the reality of it, Keith. But people will say you can't catch suicide in Tesco's or Sainsbury's or on a bus, so we shouldn't worry about it. Meanwhile, we will lock the country down. We will potentially destroy the life chances for generations of children. Same subject. A lot of you are getting involved in this. When will Michael Smith, when will the real truth about COVID be exposed? When will journalists do some really in-depth investigation into the reports being managed by our government to try and stir fear across the country? Kaylee Edwards, I can't see this making a jot of difference, even if the whole country was in level 3. Schools will continue to link households and continue the train of transmission. Same subject, this is from Ian M. Shut all universities now, give everyone a 4-week break to finish self-isolating, travel home and get distance learning set up properly. Universities are one of the main breeding grounds. Too many younger people are abusing the rules. Don't you realise, and listen carefully to what I say, as long as they're all healthy, it's an argument that it's good that young people are catching coronavirus because they're healthy enough to say they're getting it they don't even know, and that will breed herd immunity. The only way we're going to beat this is to get herd immunity. Please don't say wait for the virus. We're still waiting for a virus for AIDS. Do you remember that? That's 37 years. We haven't got that yet. So these kids, as long as they've not got underlying health conditions, weak hearts or whatever, let them get the damn thing. They will then get immunity. It's the only way. We lock down again. We'll be locking down again later this year, next year. And you can't stop children going to school. What don't you understand? COVID admissions are through the roof. Yes, because I tell you again, if I was admitted for a wisdom tooth operation and had to be hospitalised, they tested me for COVID. I didn't even know. I've come in to get my wisdom tooth done. I'm now a COVID admission. Just get that point. Now, another point, of course, as I mentioned, disease grants. Thousands of you, around 24,000 letters sent out from HMRC to people who have been in receipt of self-employment support grants. The questions are whether these people have been trading at the required times and indeed whether they should have got the cash. Ray McCann is a partner firm, Joseph Hay-Gallanson, and former senior inspector, with HMRC, and president of the Chartered Institute of Taxation. Okay, in a couple of sentences, what are these letters seeking to do, and how should the recipients respond? Good morning. to you.
Morning, Nick. Well, basically, what these letters are, they fall into the category of inquiring that HMRC refer to as a nudge. And basically, they're to prompt individuals who think or know that they've received these grants in circumstances where they've been ineligible to contact HMRC and put it right. When the rules were introduced earlier in the year, they included a grace period, if I can put it that way, which runs out towards the end of this month. And as long as an incorrect claim was notified within that grace period, then pay back the money, and that would be the end of it. If the grace period elapses, then HMRC will start to investigate claims that it thinks are false or just simply incorrect, with the emphasis on obviously those who have abused the system, and they can charge a penalty of up to 100%. So anyone who receives such a letter has to do something.
And what would you? I would imagine contact a certified accountant.
Yeah, I mean, one of the peculiarities of the system in the first place was HMRC barred accountants and other advisors from actually making the claims on behalf of clients. Now, obviously, under the law, any claim that a taxpayer makes for a tax deduction and so on is the taxpayer's responsibility, but typically, where that person has an advisor, the advisor helps the client make sure that the claim is correct as far as the advisor is able to do that. And here, HMRC barred agents from accessing the system and making the claim on the taxpayer's behalf. The other aspect, of course, is that a lot of the individuals who have made these claims probably don't use advisors, or don't use advisors in the sense of someone on the end of the phone helping them with every aspect of their tax position. So they will have crashed on themselves. And the guidance, whilst it's helpful, the rules are complicated, and the circumstances in which this was introduced was all obviously in a rush because of the emerging pandemic. So, there is the potential for perhaps a large number of these letters go out to individuals who have either made genuine mistakes or there is some genuine confusion over the validity of the claim.
Seek professional advice is what we're saying. Ray, thank you for your time. Ray McCann, your partner, Joseph Haig, Allenson firm. You were president of the Chartered Institute of Taxation and a senior inspector with HMRC. Coming up after the news headlines, more of your reactions to the figures and the stance that I'm giving you concerning COVID in this country and to Paris, where it's gone dark in the City of Lights. 7:45 LBC News.